7th. So who's winning? Damon Bradshaw, that's who. Pursued by Matasevich. Next comes the number 3 of Jeff Ward running 3rd. Number 4, Mike Kudrowski 4th, and Fisher up to 5th. That order reshuffled when Matasevich spun out while trying to overtake Bradshaw. The Matas attack eventually backpedaled to 8th as we see the rest of the top 5 come hustling fast. Bradshaw hit the cruise control once Matasevich went down, but then Jeff Ward gave him a wake-up call. Hungry for his first Supercross win in 13 months, Wardy kept the pressure on Bradshaw, and when Damon got a little squirrely off this berm, Jeff out-jumped him and took the lead. And we'll just stay with that battle, show you exactly how long that lead lasted. Ward, with all of his experience, couldn't match the speed of the North Carolina teenager. Bradshaw simply changed his line through this set of whoops. The ability to go where they ain't is critical in any form of racing. Bradshaw took the inside of the corner away from Ward and made it look easy from that point on. Now we'll show you the checkered flag salute as we note that this was Bradshaw's 3rd win of the Supercross season. With the Bail bad luck, that will tighten up the series standings as we take a look at the top 5 from Supercross round 13 of 18. Now, while that series moves to Las Vegas, Nevada this weekend, the Dallas race's impact on the series standings highlights this week's edition of the Honda Scoreboard. Despite his Dallas difficulties, Bale still looks like a shoe-in for the championship, while Kudrowski, Bradshaw, Stanton, and Ward are locked in a dogfight for 2nd. In the 125 class, Jeremy McGrath came home a winner in a combined Eastern and Western regional event. Chris Larson has the whole story later this half hour. And in road racing, Doug Poland enjoys a healthy lead in the Diesel Jeans World Superbike standings after last weekend's race at Jarama, Spain. Poland won both legs on his fast by Faraci Ducati, smashing the track record as he went. He now has 3 wins and 4 series starts. Poland also plans to campaign the U.S. Superbike Championship. There are only 2 conflicts between those 2 series, and in the international rounds, he can throw out his 2 worst finishes. That gives him at least the early season hope that he can win both titles. Meanwhile, former world champ Fred Merkel involved in a massive first-turn crash in Jarama. He broke a bone in his hand, tried to ride, but retired after just a few laps. Still ahead on this edition of Moto World, a preview of the upcoming international 6-day Enduro. The 125 Supercrossers take their turn at the Dallas Supercross. And coming up next, dual sport action from the California 500. Moto World will be right. Welcome back. The California 500 was supposed to kick off the 1991 AMA Suzuki Dual Sport National Series, a schedule of non-competitive on- and off-road events designed to increase the popularity of dual-purpose motorcycles. Well, Bob Barsha tells us that the 500 did all that. It just did it 3 weeks later than planned.
The California 500 is the kickoff event on the new AMA National Series, recognizing the booming interest in dual sport riding. Dual Sport is a non-competitive enduro for street-legal bikes that utilizes both paved roads and existing trails, hence the name. To some, it's the future of off-road riding.
Dual Sport is the sport of the 90s as far as motorcycling goes because of the land closures and the problems. There's a lot of racing areas are being shut down or closed down. They're getting tighter and tighter, while Dual Sport areas are actually opening up to us because basically we're using roads and trails that are open to the public. And since it's a non-competitive event, permits are much easier to get.
For others, Dual Sport is a throwback to a happier time.
You know, it started out that we go down and we get a road bike. We put knobby tires onto it, and we go off riding down through the 2 tracks, and we'd get back into some of the areas and see some of the scenery. And then I don't know what happened, but for some reason, we kind of got away from that. I guess we started racing and riding motocross and so on, and all the bikes started to switch over to that. All the road bikes became 4 cylinders. You couldn't get them through the woods. All the dirt bikes were 2 strokes, and they wouldn't let us in the woods with them. And then now it's just kind of coming back again.
I kind of quit riding enduros because it wasn't competitive anymore, but now this has brought out a whole new thing, and I'm just really having a good time.
Despite the delay, more than 200 riders turned out for the 3rd annual 500, some high-tech from helmet to tires, while others went with the tried and true. But even though the ride wasn't competitive, don't think it wasn't challenging.
That was part of my fancy push-to-talk button for this 2-way radio. Caught a bush, threw it in the rear wheel, and there it is. Oh well, another $100 radio, what the hell.
Despite the occasional mechanical problem, this year's 500 was a big success. In these days of environmental issues and land use sensitivity, dual sport may be the future of off-road riding, a way to combine love of motorcycles with the call of the wild. Reporting for Motoworld, I'm Bob Varsha.
Thank you, Bob. Now back to the Supercross action. Last week we told you all about Team Peak, which has dominated 125 racing this year. Well, at Dallas, the Eastern and Western regional riders all raced together, and the question was, which Team Peak rider would win? Chris Larson has the answer.
The final East-West showdown of the 125 Supercross season on the floor of Texas Stadium had a distinctly Western flavor and a couple of surprising twists. Down to the first corner, Californian Jeff Immig, fifth in the Western region standings coming in, pushed his Yamaha out front in search of his second win this season. Immig ran off to a huge lead while the rest of the field scrambled. Behind the leader, another Californian, Buddy Antunez, number 20, held second over the Eastern region's Talon Volan, until Volan tripped and went down hard, allowing Eastern region runner-up Jeremy Buell, number 25, to sweep around and into second spot. From another angle, you can see that Volan had nowhere to go coming down off a jump, clobbering Antunez and knocking both out of contention. Despite the hard landing, Volan managed to charge back to a fine fourth-place finish. The real story of this race was yet another Californian, Honda-mounted Jeremy McGrath. The Western region points leader was forced to qualify via the four-lap last chance dash, which he won. He used the reprieve to maximum advantage, running down leader Immig. He soon learned, however, that catching is not the same as passing. Immig and McGrath ran nose to tail and side by side until McGrath finally managed to swing wide and launch an attack over a triple jump, snatching away the lead. The gritty Immig tried to respond, but McGrath, with 3 victories coming in, wasn't about to open the door to this Western region rival. He motored away to victory number 4, giving the Texas crowd a well-earned finish line salute. Immig, Buell, Volan, and Eastern region points leader Brian Swink round out the top 5. A look at the Eastern points after 9 of 11 races shows Swink with 4 wins in control over Buell and Volan. In the West, it's all Jeremy McGrath, also a 4-time winner, with 4 races still to run. Reporting from Motoworld, I'm Chris Larson.
All right, thank you, Chris. By the way, Team Peak has now won 11 of 15 125 Supercrosses this year. Pretty impressive. Are you interested in a career as a motorcycle technician? Well, I got a deal for you. Get a paper and a pen. Motorcycle Mechanics Institute is going to award one lucky Motoworld viewer a free scholarship to their 27-week motorcycle technician career program. Winner of the scholarship has his or her choice. You can attend in Phoenix, Arizona, or Orlando, Florida. The scholarship value is about $5,000. It's the perfect way to enter the exciting and rewarding field of motorcycle mechanics. Want more information? Pick up the phone. Give them a call, 1-800-225-1234. The operators are standing by right now. Please, serious inquiries only. The number again, 1-800-225-1234. Offer ends June 7th. Winner will be announced right here, June 21st. Now, when we come back, we're going to get to the Southern California Speedway scene, and we'll meet a dirt track legend, the shoe man, Ken Maley. Stay with us. The AMA Camel Supercross Series makes its last East Coast stop at Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. On the left coast, the AMA Camel Pro Series makes the first of 2 visits to the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds for the San Jose Mile. And Team Suzuki will try to keep its stranglehold on the WERA Endurance Series with the 8-hour endurance at Grattan, Michigan. We'll have reports on upcoming editions of Motoworld. I'm David Spain. This is Motoworld. Welcome back. For intense action, few forms of motorcycle sport can compare with the weekly Speedway races at the fairgrounds in Costa Mesa, California. A little bitty bull ring with a big reputation. California fans think Speedway is totally rad, and most radical of all are the sidecars. Alan Bilger and Brett Fox hit the wall in the first 3 feet, while Kent Benender and Don Partain were immediately rear-ended by Craig Dempster and passenger Peter Lewis. Why, you may wonder, do these things go the wrong way, clockwise as opposed to counterclockwise? Something to do with the fact that this sport comes from down under, and in the southern hemisphere things spin in the opposite direction. Dempster and Lewis tried the inside, tried the outside, and on the final lap tried the inside again, and this time they made it work. Benender and Partain, helpless, caught out of position as they roar into the last turn of the last lap. There's the checker. Great race, fine victory for a couple of guys who say the trophy girls are the highlight of their racing careers. before the year is out, we'll try to get you pictures of these things on a long track. That's really a show. We go to the solos, and Billy the Bullet Hamill on the outside. Great save until John Aiden turns around right in front of him. Maybe it was the curse of turn 1. You've heard of synchronized swimming? Think of this as synchronized crashing. And it didn't get any better as we move to the handicap main event. Into turn 1, Jesse Lynch finds himself facing the wrong way, and a total of 4 riders get off. We'll go to the restart now, and there are 2 things I want to show you. First is the guy in white, Billy Hamill, making the inside move on Don Too Tall Odom. That's the move that won the race. Once Hamill was into the lead, no one could touch him. Note that Too Tall keeps slipping wide, and that opened the door to number 5 in black and white, Brad Oxley, powering through for second. Now watch what happens to Odom. Stuck outside, gets his front wheel knocked out from under him, and never misses a step. You want to see that again, right? Here comes Too Tall. He's got it saved till Sean McConnell arrives, takes the wheel away, and Odom demonstrates the advantage of those long legs with some very fancy footwork indeed. Finally, the scratch main event, Boogaloo Bobby Schwartz around the outside, Steve Lucero working the bottom. Lucero's got the stop with Hamill jumping into the race with Schwartz for second place. Lucero kept it hooked up all the way to the checkered flag. Totally radical. Well, all the Speedway guys, and in fact, anyone who's ever tried to slide a motorcycle sideways knows the Shoe Man. He's a legend among dirt trackers. It's easy to spot Ken Maley's Corona, California mailbox. It's the one that bears the steel hot shoe, trademark of the dirt track motorcycle racer.
My father used to race in the teens and the 20s. He raced motorcycles. And when I was very young, we used to take him down with a car to the railroad station. We wouldn't see him till fall. And I had to stay home and help with the chores on the farm. And my grandfather had a blacksmith shop. And I used to work for him since I was about 8 years old in the blacksmith shop. So I kind of come second nature to do something like this.
What Maley did was develop the definitive steel shoe and a direct marketing strategy.
I used to take a van, and we went to all the national races, Daytona, the Houston Astrodome. One year we'd travel the East Coast, hitting all the races for about 3 months in the summertime. The next year in the Midwest, and the third year on the West Coast, we'd go to Canada and work our way down to all the different races. It's like everything else, you have to work hard and stay right at it. And then the rewards are later on, not the money value, but the friendship value. Money is, we need a certain amount of money to live on, but I think friendships comes way above that.
Ken's a busy guy. He now designs engines for the People's Republic of China, maintains a practice track in the backyard for future stars of Speedway, and he's never stopped welding up those hot shoes.
I'd like to quit a long time ago, but I have 2 boys, and they said, no, Dad, we're not going to work for $3 an hour. You go ahead and do it. Because for the amount of time it takes to make a steel shoe, there isn't that much profit in. But just the friendship you have over a steel shoe, and wherever you go in the United States, everyone there is a friend of yours. Money can't buy that.
Ken Maley, one of the nicest guys in motorcycling. And when we come back, Trip Nobles to tell you everything you need to know to go Harley Sportster racing. Stay with us. They're Harley to Daytona to watch the races on the beach. Now he's racing a Harley at Daytona International Speedway and elsewhere, chasing the Harley Twin Sports Championship. Welcome to Motoworld. Glad you're here today. I'm interested to know how a former drag racer all of a sudden one day decided he wanted to be a great road racing star. How'd that come about?
Well, I had a friend of mine take me to a road race, and I saw that they had an amateur program. It wasn't long after that I purchased a bike and safety wired it and went racing. I crashed in my first race, and it wasn't long after that I got it fixed, and it was at the end of '88. So '89 I competed all year as an amateur.
Yeah, I'll say you did and finish the season with 7 national championships and everybody in the world saying, wow, who is this kid? Obviously, you were a natural at it. I mean, it must have come very, very easily to you. Why is that? Can you put your finger on why you did so well so quickly?
Well, I grew up riding dirt bikes as a kid. And I guess I was 12 or 13, we started drag racing. And I drag raced for a few years, and that's when a friend of mine introduced me to road racing. So I really kind of grew up in a motorcycle household and always had mini bikes. And
those Harley guys were all your idols, too, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cal Rayburn and that bunch.
we used to watch them.
You're in a class now that is interesting to me because it's not all high tech like so much of road racing. You're racing a Harley Sportster, which basically was designed in the 50s. Tell me more about that. Is that a good road racing motorcycle? What's the class like?
Yeah, it's a real good bike to race, and the class is just real competitive, especially this year. I would imagine by the purse that they posted, it's brought a lot of super sport riders into the program, and it's going to be a real competitive class.
And you won 5 of the races, 5 out of 9 last year, but didn't win the championship, so you need to work on them about the rules and get that straightened out. What do you think the prospects are this year? You're going to be up against Nigel Gale again. You're going to be able to win the title this year?
I'm gunning for it. If not me, I hope him.
Yeah. You ended up teammates, didn't you? Tell me how that happened.
They approached me at the end of the year, right after the Willow Springs National. I had won there. They approached me right after that and made me an offer I just couldn't refuse. You
beat the guy on his home racetrack, and so they came and hired you, basically, is what happened, right?
Yeah, I guess.
He's bashful. He doesn't want to brag about that. Let's talk about your future. We know Twin Sports is going to be a big success because Harley dealers all over the country are getting guys involved in it. But for you, is this going to be a stepping stone, or is this your life's work?
I hope it's a stepping stone, not only the Harley. Whether I'll be doing this next year, I don't know. I'd like to. I would really like to land a pro ride, whether it be a 250, a Pro Twins, or a super bike. But I'd really like to do something as a pro next year.
Have a great season with the Harley Twin Sports, and come back and talk to us after you win the championship, okay?
Thanks, Dave.
All right, that's Trip Nobles. He'll be racing at Road Atlanta this weekend. Still ahead, the ISDE is coming to America. You keep it tuned to ESPN. Riders vie for the opportunity to represent their country in the International 6 Days Enduro, the ISDE, most often called simply 6 days. Well, this year's first qualifier was held last weekend, and as Mark Phillips reports, it was something special.
It's one of the purest tests of motorcycle riding skill and endurance, the ISDE. For 6 long days, the best off-road riders in the world dodge the trees and ricochet off rocks, battle a diabolical schedule intentionally designed to make them late, and still find time for a wave to the Motoworld camera. Randy Hawkins, our guest here last week and a veteran ISDE gold medalist, proved last weekend his broken thumb really is healing nicely. He won the 125 class at this special 4-day qualifier for the 91 ISDE. This is the sprawling John Zink Ranch near Tulsa, Oklahoma, where ranch hands run checkpoints to mark the progress of the likes of Hawkins, and where the ISDE is scheduled to be held in the fall of 1994. That will be only the second time in history this prestigious event has come to the U.S. This 4-day event, 2 days is normal, was a test not only of American riders, but also of Zink Ranch organizers. Larry Rossler, who won the 250 class and the overall, worked up a sweat dealing with the mechanical challenge of the ISDE. Only the rider is allowed to work on his motorcycle, and he can do so only if he's ahead of schedule. Thus, ISDE guys are famous for their ability to change a rear knobby in under 4 minutes without pinching the tube. The amount of day-to-day maintenance required for a grind like this varies widely, but the rule remains the same. The rider is always responsible for fixing his own machine, no matter what may go wrong with it. Now have a look at Rossler in action on one of the special tests. The riders did about 120 miles of trail work every day, plus these added speed events where extra points can be scored by throwing mud on the camera. The final special test was a motocross race on Sunday, featuring a racetrack that had been soaked with rain and offered an excellent challenge. The fastest man in that special test was a local ringer. Look closely and see if that doesn't look like Guy Cooper, who lives in Stillwater and hustled home after his 6th place finish Saturday night in the Dallas Supercross to go out and play with his ISDE buddies on Sunday. Now there's a serious motorcycle enthusiast. Reporting for Motoworld, I'm Mark Phillips.
Actually, Guy went there to watch his 2 brothers race, and they did pretty well, too. We're going to take a quick whirl through the moto news to wrap things up. American Donnie Schmidt, the reigning 125 World Motocross champ, won Sunday's French Grand Prix and built his lead in the 1991 series. Meanwhile, an FIM committee recommendation to do away with 500 motocross GPs has hit a firestorm of criticism in Europe. An emergency meeting of that FIM committee is set for next month. And dirt tracker Ronnie Jones has found the chassis settings from the bike that won the last race at California's Pomona Fairgrounds. That gives the point leader a leg up when the Camel Pro Series visits that track for the first time next Saturday night. And with that, our time is up. We appreciate you being here for this edition of Moto World. Be back next week with Supercross action from Las Vegas, the WIRA 24-hour road race at Nelson Ledges, got National Enduro action from South Carolina, and the BSA Owners Club get-together in California.